Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in. Well, I think I finally got all the glue issues straightened out. I've done enough testing on that, and I've settled on how I want to attach the O5 aluminum to the fence. And as you can see, I have some pieces here. I'm going to cut them to size now and get them ready for that process. But unfortunately, and fortunately I guess, I have picked up some subcontract work. I'm going to be doing some work for a company doing a lot of maintenance on some condos, so I'll be doing repairs, that sort of stuff. Unfortunate aspect of that is it's going to take up some time. I am going to, be doing a fair amount of that, which means I won't have as much time for this sort of project. But the upside is I should be able to get some interesting videos as far as general house repairs and that sort of stuff going. So I think it's kind of a mixed blessing, and we'll see how that all works out. So that means today's video is not going to get as far as I'd hope, but there's a couple things I want to show you, and we're definitely going to make some progress on this, so that's a good thing. So what I'm doing here is, this is the piece of wood that's left over from when I was cutting the fences, or sort of the rails for the fences, and is of course the exact same width. So what I'm going to do here is just going to stick this in here just so that I don't need to measure. I'm just going to be able to put that in there, put my makeshift fence up against it, clamp that down tightly, and then I'm going to cut the aluminum to the proper width. It's a very straightforward and easy thing to do. Obviously it's time consuming, and that's the reason why I'm building the much better fence. But like I said, it's nice and solid, and it allows me to actually do this, which is a good thing. You'll notice there I am putting on a full face visor. That's because cutting aluminum is very straightforward on a table saw, but you get a lot of little pieces, and I don't want to get any of those anywhere near me, so I am going to do this very slowly. As you can see here, this is regular recording speed, and as you can see, it just goes through very nicely. It's like, you can't really feel it. It is, like I said, very easy to cut as long as you're using a relatively fine tooth saw blade. So like I said, this is not something that's going to be difficult. It can, if you do an awful lot of this, dull your blade a little bit more quickly, but I'm only going to be cutting a few pieces, so it's not a big deal at all. So because of all the materials here, if you remember, I had to get my water heater replaced. Actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned it on this channel. I did on the other channel. I'm getting a water heater replaced, so I had to take all the stuff that was underneath the stairs, remove all that, and while I'm doing that, I figure it was time to go through a bunch of the junk I've accumulated, and I am, making things a lot neater. But that means there's a fair amount of stuff around here that you can't quite see that's preventing me from pulling the saw out properly, and that way it means I just have to be a little bit more careful, and it's just a simple matter of flipping it around, and as you can see, it cuts fine. There's no issues with it. You just have to be a little more cautious with it. That's all, because if you move a little bit too far from the fence, or you're just not steady enough with it, you can end up with a bit of a notch where the two cuts come together, but it wasn't a problem. So I'm going to mark this to length now, and this is 10 times easier. It's just a simple matter of going up to where the mark is, and then just running it through again nice and slowly. As you notice, at this point I'm not wearing the full face cover, because the hand section where I'm hanging on to the crosscut sled is perfect for blocking all those little bits and pieces. And the other thing you didn't get to see me do is, when you're doing this, you really should clean up right after you do it. Those little pieces are really annoying, especially if they get throughout the house, and it's just best to sweep them up right away just so they don't get anywhere, and you end up stepping on them in your sock feet, and it's not a whole lot of fun. So what I'm going to do here is just going to take some masking tape, and I'm going to just very lightly attach this in place, because I'm going to use the holes that I've already cut into this as the guides, of course, for cutting through the aluminum. So just a simple matter of attaching it, making sure it's in the right place and held firmly. Then I go over to the mill, and the first part's quite straightforward. I've got it attached, and I got a piece of wood underneath it just so I don't have to worry about cutting into my mill. And also, the other thing it does is it gives a backing to the hole. There's no hole there obviously at the moment, but what happens is I'm pushing through, the drill bit has some resistance on the back end of it, so it makes it a lot easier to make sure you get a nice straightforward hole. So it's very easy to drill aluminum, obviously. It's going to punch this through. And the next step is I have to widen those holes out to allow the bolts to go through. That is a little bit more tricky. I was hoping that I had an end mill. End mill is much easier for cutting through this, but I didn't. I didn't have an end mill that was the right diameter. So I'm going to use a Forstner bit, which is not ideal, but again, this is aluminum, so it cuts easily. I was a little concerned that I may end up dulling the blade. What I'm going to do here, and this is the important part, is I'm going to clamp it in place very, very securely. So the thing is here, I'm going to put this is the drill bit I used to drill the hole first off, so I'm going to wedge that down in place, put the stop clamp on so that the the drill bit stays where it needs to be, and then I am going to put some shims in here, make sure that everything's nice and flat. You can see the test hole I did there, and just clamp this down. I mean clamp it down solidly, because the Forstner bit has that little point in the center, but that's not going to be able to engage with anything because I've already drilled a hole. So what I wanted to do, I didn't bother tightening that down properly. Not a big deal, it's just I just want it in place to guide the hole. And then now we're going to go down. Now I'm going to cut a little bit initially just to get rid of the plastic, and then the best way to drill through aluminum is to use a little bit of WD-40 when you're doing this. I'm just going, like I said, I'm just going to do a first little bit of a test here, make sure it's doing what I want it to do, and then you're going to see the difference. See, there's a little bit of chips coming off there, but the second I use the WD-40, it just goes through like butter. It's very, very straightforward and easy to do. I don't know if this is going to dull the Forstner a bit faster than just using it on wood. I'll have to wait and see long term, I guess. Obviously, for this little bit of a project, it was no big deal at all. As you're going to see here right now, it's going to go through very, very quickly. Just a little bit of extra WD-40, and you can see it's almost through right now. And there you go, it's done. And it's going to make sure that the hole is uniform. I'm just going to go down one more time, and that's it, it's done. So I'm going to unclamp this, and next video I will sand these all up, get them glued into place, and start actually working on the finishing part of it. Sorry this is a little short, but there's a couple of interesting things as far as how to drill through this sort of material is concerned, and how to set things up, and I didn't want to cut any of that out. So thank you very much for watching. I'm going to give you a final clip here of the hole itself, and then there you go. All that needs to be sanded, of course, and I'll do that in the next video. As I said, thanks for watching. Leave comments, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.